Hello everyone, welcome to the latest in my Reactionless videos. We are still going through the number one songs of the 1980s, and today we're going to look at the groundbreaking music video. Well, we're not going to look at it because I'm not reacting to it. It's Reactionless, remember? We're going to be talking about the groundbreaking music video and single from 1983, Sweet Dreams Are Made of This by the Eurythmics. And this song spent number one. Wow, I can't talk today. This song spent 1 week at number one at the beginning of September in 1983. It followed a host of classic number one records. It came immediately after Every Breath You Take by The Police, which spent 8 weeks at number one, which followed from Flashdance, What a Feeling, which spent 6 weeks at number one. Prior to that, Beat It was number one for several weeks, and prior to that, skipping over one or two lesser in terms of weeks at number one, lesser singles, and before that, Billie Jean had spent 7 weeks at number one. So this one had only spent 1 week, and also dotted in there in the summer of '83 was Let's Dance by David Bowie, also with 1 week. But this year was such a great year that even these relatively low achieving songs with only 1 week at number one were still ended up being classic 1980s records that still have a lot of staying power. Everyone who knows pop culture knows the song Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. This song, like several of the songs we looked at recently, has over 1 billion views on YouTube. It's a hugely influential song, and even though the second British invasion that occurred in the early '80s was well documented and was already well underway at this point, Eurythmics really kind of took it to a very different place. They managed to, in my mind, now you can correct me if I'm wrong, they managed to be the first group that really and truly crossed over and had a number one, truly crossed over, had a number one hit that didn't, you know what? I'm trying to shoehorn I'm trying to qualify this enough to make it a true statement. They really they were not necessarily the first. I would say Human League did a pretty good job of introducing the quirky new wave aesthetic of the British. Eurythmics were, I think, maybe the first to really make it stick, because they followed this up, not with this album. They didn't have any other big hits off of this particular album, but the following year, Here Comes the Rain Again, and then the following year, Would I Lie to You? The following year, Missionary Man. They kept going and kept at it, and developed on their unique take on new wave, and especially American R&B and soul music. And I think that's one of the really key things about the second British invasion. We think of it as this quirky pop music revolution, but if you name the groups that were the most influential and look at their discography and look at their influences and look at the stuff that's right there in front of you, R&B all the way. Just a few weeks earlier, David Bowie was at number one with Let's Dance, and his R&B influences are very well documented. Luther Vandross was a backup singer for David Bowie for a good while, from what I understand. And David Bowie made some appearances on the R&B charts in the 1970s. So he was already using the vocabulary of soul. And to me, Annie Lennox really connected those dots a lot more plainly than a lot of other artists did. Now, after Annie, I think George Michael, also did a really good job, and both of them ended up doing duets in the '80s with Aretha Franklin, sort of further solidifying that connection. But to me, the real genius of this song is it takes very detached sounding computer generated music, courtesy of Dave Stewart, who's just absolutely phenomenal, such a great producer and such a great musician, and married that cold electronic soundscape to a deeply soulful vocalist like Annie Lennox, who was very much indebted to American R&B for the way that she used her voice. And when I was a kid listening to this song, I didn't really pick up on the I didn't pick up on the R&B-ness of it, because at the time I wasn't even really enough a student of pop music to understand pop versus R&B versus soul versus any of those things. It took me a little while to get acclimated, but then when I went back and listened to it some years later, I realized that this song is very soulful on the vocal side while being very cold and sterile on the instrumental side. And I think that's really the point of the song altogether. I think the lyrical content of the song echoes this sort of dichotomy. I think the video also echoes the dichotomy. I won't go through all the iconography that's used in the video. You can watch it for yourself and see, but it's a lot of juxtaposition. That's really the point of it. And the funniest and probably most relatable image is the image of the cow chewing over Dave Stewart while he's typing on a keyboard, on a computer keyboard. And that, of course, is now the reality for many of us. And they're not cows. In most cases, they're cats or dogs. But those of us who work remotely now have to deal with that dichotomy of the newest technology, or, newer technology, remote work, computers, AI, chat boxes, and I say chat boxes, I don't even know if that's really, like, that word just came out. I'm not really sure if that's really a thing. I'm speaking about Teams chats, DMs at work with your virtual team and so forth. But point being, we have we electronic means of communication, but we're surrounded by our own animals who serve to ground us and remind us that, okay, we're in our homes, we're dealing with that sort of back and forth between the technology and real life. And to me, although it may be a bit of a stretch and a bit of an extrapolation, that's kind of what I get from the song. It's very vague, and I think I did not do the research to understand what the exact meaning of the song is. It's such an iconic song that I've almost stopped thinking about over the years what the song means. But it seems as if the song is just talking about the nature of being human in a world that thrives off of politics and power, and how we're all kind of tossed back and forth inside that not really coming up with a word here, inside the entirety of human society, I guess. It's a really very big very big lyrical concept. And so it's kind of hard to encapsulate it by any other means than just reciting the lyrics. So that's the idea that I get. That's the feeling I get from the song, from the video, from the way that it's put together, and that's really my takeaway of the song. It's a brilliant song. I mean, I can't. I almost don't want to go any further, and I may just actually end the video a little early this time, because I feel like that's really what I have to contribute to the conversation around this record. Soulfulness plus sterile electronic production, juxtaposing that, showing a similar juxtaposition in the music video, and having the lyric be kind of big and bold and kind of all-encompassing about what it's like to be human in a tough, competitive, corporate-driven world. or competition driven world where you know, I think the implication is that the people that want to use you or abuse you tend to be people with status and power and money, and because of the various the boardroom that's shown as a setting in the video and the computers and so forth, I think there's sort of a hint that the corporate world is the master that wants to toss us around and use us for its own benefit, and then try to convince us that this is really the best thing ever, which is the whole, sweet dreams piece of it. That's sort of my take on it, and I think it's so classic because it kind of invites a lot of interpretations without seeming overly broad, and I just think it's one of those right down the middle, like, pop culture moments that you really can't make up, you can't duplicate. Eurythmics never really did anything quite like it ever again in terms of the cultural resonance of the song, even though they'd made a lot of other really, really brilliant songs after this. And I'm using the word brilliant. I wonder if it's because I'm reacting to so many British artists right now, so the British words are coming out of me. But yeah, again, I feel like I'm being a bit effusive at this point, but some of these 1983 songs were really quite well-crafted masterpieces that you can't say a whole lot bad about. I feel like the only song I've dumped on recently has been Beat It by Michael Jackson, and now I feel bad about that because it's another classic record. I guess because I'm a fan of Michael's and I know there's a lot of stuff of his that I like better, I can nitpick a little more. So chalk that up to that, but go watch the Beat It video if you want to see me being negative about anything. Until then, until you watch that, or until you watch my next video, I will see you the next time around, and we'll continue through this journey of the number one songs of the 1980s, and please help me to continue to make music better.